This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, I have a wonderful guest on the phone with me this evening. Afternoon where he is. He's out of Los Angeles. I'm 4 hours ahead, but either way, we're having a great connection. I have a wonderful musician on the phone by the name of TJ Doyle. How do you do, TJ?
Well, I'm doing just great, Greg. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we've had some massive snowstorms here, and got a lot of.
You have.
Yeah, we've had some rainfall, but I bet you there where you are, you've got some pretty good weather, huh?
Well, we had rain a couple days ago, and it rained so much. Really, we ended up with almost a couple inches here, which is quite a lot in one storm for Los Angeles, and it was a little difficult to get out with the dog, which I normally do. So we had to sit and watch the rain for a while and kind of wish we were walking.
Yeah, but I heard you guys don't get a lot of rain there.
We don't get a lot, but last year we got more than we think we're getting this year, but who knows what we're going to get?
Yeah.
Because, climate's changing a bit, and they can't predict it.
Well, I bet you guys could do without the fires. I do know that.
Well, that's for sure. I think anyone who has a home in a place that has been there for 30, 40 years or longer, and then suddenly it's a fire risk, that certainly does speak of a change in the types of storms we're having and the gravity that they mean to many homes in different places. So.
Yeah. I've done a lot of interviews with people, actors and musicians out of Los Angeles and California, and boy, I saw the videos of the fires, and I'm like, oh man, that is horrendous.
Yeah, the fires were awful. We're fortunate where I'm at in Altadena, which is just north of Pasadena. We're kind of nestled near the mountains, but we're not so close to them that we're right on top of them, which is quite good. The planning was better, I think, then when this neighborhood was built. But we have a place, we have the mountains so tall in our area that they block the wind that is affecting all these other areas. And so it's a rare windstorm that comes from a different direction that could harm us. But and that does happen, every few years.
Well, you know what? I've listened to some of your music here online, and I want to first get a little bit of your background.
Well, sure.
Yeah, and how you got into music and how you formed that love.
Well, it all started really when I was a kid and learned to play an instrument. And I was about 5 years old when I was given an accordion and accordion lessons for about 6 months, which I didn't care for that much. I wanted a guitar, and so I ended up taking piano lessons and learning guitar.
Okay.
And then I got into high school, and I had a teacher who was teaching me piano, and she knew I wanted to write because she made me learn the first half of a piece, and then she let me write my own ending.
Okay.
And then in high school, I started writing about nature, actually.
Okay.
That happened primarily because I moved around quite a lot. We moved every 2 or 3 years because my dad was upwardly mobile in the railroad at the time, and every time he got promoted, we moved. And so I ended up being a new kid in class and every 2 or 3 years, and the one constant in my life was nature. So I developed kind of a close relationship with nature when I was growing up, and then I started writing songs about that in my junior year in high school. After I was about 19 or 20 years old, I ended up going to a talent contest at a local restaurant. and we won the talent contest, a friend and I.
Wow.
And so we ended up playing 6 hours a night, 6 days a week for 2 years. And during that time, I really learned how to put together the music the way I envisioned it, and I could walk in front of a crowd that night and play it.
Okay.
So that gave me the live experience as well as the idea that I could write something for the next week if I wanted to.
When you say you had to move like every 2 years, that must have been very, very, very difficult to maintain friendships.
Well, when you start, I lived in 3 places before I started kindergarten.
Oh, wow.
So it didn't have a lot of friends in those places.
No.
At least I don't remember their names. When you got into, and then we moved to metropolitan New York City, up in the Hudson Valley area in Ossining, New York.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I was in, I guess, the first through the 10th grade.
Okay.
And so I did spend more time there, and then we moved to Indiana, where I finished high school.
Okay. Well,
So I probably know more of those people from Indiana than I do from New York.
Oh, okay.
And I see quite a few of them on Facebook.
Okay. Well, I guess that wasn't so bad then.
No.
No.
So, but at the same time, it's a different enculturation than someone who stays in one group of people throughout your life.
Yeah.
And, it's not good or bad. It's just a different way to grow up. And I have to say I loved it because that's one thing you do. You accept everything that has occurred in your life, and you make the best of it, right?
Yes. Well, I've been connected with you through Mike Gormley, of course, and I was wondering how you connected with him.
Well, Mike became kind of aware of what I was doing, and we ended up talking, and we met, and he agreed that there is something here that he wants to work on, and we ended up signing a management agreement, and now we're working together, I think probably in our 5th or 6th month.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done quite a lot for me already.
Yeah.
He's introduced me to the producer that's now producing my 3rd album.
Okay.
And he's helped me get some airplay on the Radio Indie Alliance because of a radio promoter that you probably know, Mark Platt.
Okay.
So that's gotten me a lot of exposure worldwide on the Radio Indie Alliance charts. I had already been getting exposure through a different promotional device or promotion person all over Europe, New Zealand, and Australia.
Yeah.
And so last March I was in the top 200 chart.
Oh, that's
there.
fantastic.
So
yeah.
What this had helped us to do, with Mike's help too, was to make sure that we are getting weekly charts. And I've been in the top 5 on those charts for the last 9 or 10 weeks now.
Fantastic.
And started the year at number 1 with 2 songs.
Yes. Yes, we're going to be talking about one of those in just a minute. But, I come to know Mike, interestingly enough, through an actress I interviewed be almost 3 years ago now, a Canadian actress named Lisa Langlois.
Uh-huh.
And I've had her on my show a couple of times, and she's become a very good friend of mine. And through this lovely lady, I come to know Mike, and Mike has sent a lot of clientele to me, which all started with Lisa, and he took interest, and here I am talking to you. And
wow.
Yeah. I gotta say, I like that picture Mike puts out of you with the guitar and the blue blazer on. I like that blue blazer.
Yeah, I did wear that for a while. It it really popped on stage.
Well, it's actually kind of nice. It's nice and casual without being too much. It's very stylish without being over the top. I like that.
Well, I'm glad you do.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite jackets. I don't wear it except when I'm performing.
Well, there you go. Well, I gotta say, I know you've gotten 2 albums out already. I am going to say one song I have listened to a number of times, and it spoke to me, but I love the song, is Anonymous. I love Anonymous.
Well, I'm glad you like it. That's a song that's the most recent release.
Mm-hmm.
It was released on September 7th of 2017.
Yeah, Mike sent the song to me, but I actually heard it. I don't know whether it was on YouTube or off your site. I don't know where it was I heard it, but I know when I clicked on it, I listened to it more than once, and I love the message behind it about a person's image of themselves compared to the image the world has on the importance of people. We got today, celebrities are held in such high regard, whereas a general person is not held in such high regard. And I don't want to get off topic here, but I always got kind of offended when Justin Bieber urinated in the mop bucket. And I'm
Right.
like, he's got all this money, he's doing very well, and yet being a janitor is nothing to be glamorous about. Those people work very, very hard and do a song or do a job that people don't generally raise their hands to volunteer to do. And so when I see somebody with his kind of wealth doing something like this, and I hope he's changed his ways, but I get a little offended by that. So when I hear a song like Anonymous, I'm looking at that as being the ode of people like the janitor who are looked at as being insignificant in life.
Well, that's in a way you're right. I think I view people or humans as very sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens when you're growing up is you get shut down at certain experiences you have with your peer group or your family members in some cases. And that can ding you. And if it does ding you, it might lower your self-expectation.
Yep.
And what I'm saying is that everyone is special. And if we start looking and seeing that in everyone, regardless of what they do for a living, but who they are as a human being, then it's time to get beyond those things and to let yourself spread your wings and fly.
I gotta say, I love the line near the beginning of the song where you say, the bouquet got more attention.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? At the wedding, the bouquet, yep. They throw that in the air and everybody's trying to catch it, got more attention. I really get that. And it's like the attention's going on something that really in the long run doesn't matter to what the focus should be on.
Right.
Yep.
Well,
so,
you picked it up, actually. That's very good.
I really like the song. I listened to it, I sat there, I think it was on YouTube. I must have pressed repeat 2 or 3 times on that. And I was like, I really like this song. And I really grasped, because I feel that way too, a lot of times, the way that song is describing. And I really love the fact that you are voicing something that you don't hear in a lot of songs nowadays. You hear a lot of these bubblegum pop songs about nothing, and about the latest breakup song, and but you really bring something really deep to this song. And I gotta say, I hope this song does well, and I think it's a fantastic tune.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that, and I'm glad that it touched you. That's what I wanted to do with the song, is touch as many people as I could with how good they are,
Yeah.
and to not think they're anonymous anymore.
Yeah. Let's talk about your first album. I think Anonymous was on your second album. I don't have your albums
no,
right
Anonymous
here.
is actually a pre-release on my third album.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's also the latest release.
Okay, yeah, I knew it was the latest release, but let's go back. I don't have your music right at home, so I'm going sketching on right on the edge here. But let's talk about your first album and the process of making that album, and because obviously you're first digging into the soil for the first time there. What was that process all about?
Well, that took about 5 years from when I first decided to make an album to actually releasing it.
Okay.
And I think that's because it was the first one. And the first time you make an album, you don't know quite how to finish a song. You've got lots of great ideas, but you haven't finished something for, to release it to the world. And so I ended up working with one producer probably for about 3 months, and we came to talk about a drummer, and I said, well, I would like to have Rock Dedrick play the drums. He was a favorite from Tracy Chapman's band.
Yep.
Back in the days when she won her Grammy for the album, which is escaping me right now. But anyway, Rock Dedrick came and played the drums, and he kind of took me aside and said, I really think that you could do a lot better than this.
Okay.
And this is kind of how things happen in the music world, or as you're getting yourself in the intermixed with different people. So he took me aside and said, I think I can help you do better with this, with your music. And so he suggested that I get together with him and a guy named David Sutton, who plays bass.
Okay.
So we ended up going to David Sutton's house maybe a month later, and we agreed to lay down basic tracks at his house with Rock Dedrick and David Sutton. And so once that was all done, we had 10 songs ready to take to another level. And so it took a little while longer at that point, and I ended up at Studio City Sound working with Tom Weir, who is the Grammy-nominated mixer who owns Studio City Sound. And so basically Tom helped me finish the songs.
Okay.
So we had the basic tracks, and he brought in Tim Pierce on guitars, Phil Parlapiano on keys and piano, and he brought in Karina Round to do background vocals.
Okay.
So that was our whole studio band, including me, for the first album.
All right.
And it was released on October 23rd, 2009.
What did that feel like to first have your album released? It must have been a real sense of satisfaction.
It was exciting and nerve-wracking, I have to say.
Okay. Yeah.
It's kind of like when it's all done and you have it mixed, and Tom Weir mixed it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have it mastered. The mastering is mastered at Doug's sax studio in Ojai.
Okay.
So when you have it all done and then it's released, it's almost like it sounds like somebody else did it. And you're on the outside looking in or hearing it. So you become the listener at that point. And then, of course, you pick it apart at first. And then after you go through that phase, you start appreciating how beautifully things were done.
And you had a single off that called Unconditional?
No, Unconditional was the first release from my third album.
Oh, gee, boy, I'm getting these songs like sent to me, so I don't.
Yeah, you got the last two that were from the Unconditional was released on September 29th, 16.
Okay. You see,
So,
I know Mike.
One True Thing was
Yeah.
released on October 23rd, 2009.
Okay.
And then my second album was released on April 8th, 2015. And that one was called On the Horizon, and that has 10 songs on it also.
Yeah, I was. I know Mike sent me a bunch of stuff on your background and whatnot, but I knew you had 2 albums out, so I guess I just made an assumption there. But like I said, I heard some of your stuff online, but I haven't heard the whole albums because Mike was the one that introduced me to your music. So I've only known you for a short time, but like I said, with Anonymous and I've listened to your other songs as well, but definitely Anonymous was a favorite. That's where I really took notice. I said to Mike, "Yes, I'll interview this guy." So my apologies if I sound like I didn't do research, but
that's okay.
There's a little stuff on.
The way you kind of discovered me was through the later songs.
Yeah.
But the first album has two really notable songs on it.
Okay.
One is called Nothing in My Way.
Okay.
And the other one is called Earth is Crying.
Talk about those songs in detail.
Okay. Well, Earth is Crying is something that I wrote in the late 90s.
Okay.
And it was after I sat in a field for like 4 hours.
All right.
And I really picked up this feeling that the earth feels like we're not paying enough attention. And so I thought the best way to do that would be to personify the earth. And so to say that she's crying for our love, personifies the earth. If any human being could really imagine the earth crying for their love, they'd be more than happy to love the earth. It'd be like a friend that they don't know.
Point taken.
And so Earth is Crying became a favorite for Earth Day.
Yep.
We ended up playing quite a few Earth Day festivals in 3 consecutive years, actually, after that album came out.
Okay.
And this last year, Earth is Crying was released in Europe, Australia, and New Zealand in March, just in time for Earth Day.
It's interesting you say that because it kind of puts me in mind. I saw Bruce Cockburn in concert, must have been about 15 years ago. And Bruce Cockburn does a lot of environmental theme songs as well.
Ah.
Yeah. But, that's what you kind of put me in mind of there was Bruce Cockburn.
Yeah, well, I've kind of made nature a central theme of a lot of my music.
Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with Bruce Cockburn's music?
I've heard of him, but I'm not familiar with his music.
You should check him out, absolutely, because he's even had, I think it's When a Tree Falls, and it's a song about destroying the earth and forestry. You should check that song out. I imagine it's probably on YouTube.
Well, I'm a believer that there can't be enough artists writing about nature.
Well, check out Bruce Cockburn.
Because we have to reach as many people as we possibly can with these ideas.
Absolutely.
And the more of us doing it, the better chance that most people will hear it.
Absolutely.
So more power to him,
Yeah. But, and what was the other song you mentioned?
Well, I wanted to mention again that the nature thing was part of what it was part of Earth is Crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a couple songs on my second album with nature as being the key behind it.
Yeah.
Nothing in My Way.
Okay, that one
was the other song that is getting airplay, by the way, in Europe, New Zealand, and Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened is I'll tell you that story when I get to the second album. But once we started getting airplay, they started wanting to hear stuff from the first album. So it was nice that I had done it the right way.
Yeah.
but nothing in my way is you know, if I wasn't in my own way, there'd be nothing in my way at all.
Okay.
And I think any human being could say that.
Yes, I agree.
Because the only thing really ever in anyone's way is themselves. And when you can verbalize that, you kind of you take away any of its power.
It's interesting you say that, because I remember I mentioned to you I come in contact with Mike through Lisa. And I met her back in November because she invited me to the Horrorama event in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never in my 45 years been outside the province of New Brunswick, Canada. Never been outside it. And she invited me to go to this, and I said, see what I'm doing, because I was always afraid to travel. Called me homesick. And she said, Greg, what's stopping you? And I had one of the other programmers here at the station say the same thing. He goes, what's stopping you? And you know what? I was stopping me.
Yeah,
so you made
do.
And I went to Toronto. I met her, had a wonderful time with her. I was her assistant, and I didn't want to come home. And it was my first trip out, and that kind of dawned on me when you said, nothing hold me back. I was holding me back, and I think a lot of times people don't pull forward because they got self-doubt.
They have self-doubt,
mm-hmm.
or they have something else that, I find that the good rule of thumb is, if there's something that scares the heck out of you, go toward it.
Yeah.
Because that's how you're going to unravel anything that is a big bugaboo to you.
Yep.
And most of us have fears like that. They may have started when we were children, and you're probably not aware of them consciously.
So when you did the second album, the process of going from that first album, you had you got your hands dirty that first time, and then you get that album out. Would you say the procedure for making the second album was easier, or was it more challenging?
Absolutely. When you've done the first one and you know how to finish a song, you start writing songs that are already finished.
Okay.
And I wrote 10 songs. Every one of them has a parable behind it.
Okay.
The song on that, the Earth song on that one, is called Favorite Places on the second album.
Okay.
And Favorite Places is to remind us that everyone has a favorite place. And if we don't start loving the Earth, we might be in danger of losing our favorite places.
Yep.
And usually a favorite place is in nature. It's a garden. It's someplace. It's usually not a brick building.
So it's not kind of like symbolic, like favorite place, like someplace in your memory or someplace like that?
No. It's favorite places, places where you go to feel close to nature.
What's your favorite place?
The mountains.
Okay.
I really gravitate toward the mountains.
Okay. You do a lot of stuff like hiking and stuff like that?
Yeah, I actually do a lot of hiking. I walk. I have a dog that I walk. We used to walk 5 miles a day. And
what kind of dog?
He's a Keeshond.
Okay.
His name is Casey.
Okay.
And he's about 14 and a half now.
Okay.
So we're walking more like 2.5 to 3 miles a day.
So do you ever we're both in different places, but so what kind of do you ever see any interesting wildlife when you're out walking like that?
Well, we live pretty close to the mountains here, so we've seen bobcats and we've seen coyotes.
You get nervous?
No.
No. Okay.
They'll stay away from you. If it were him by himself, he might be in danger, but when I'm with him, I'm not afraid of them.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of that here. We do have coyotes. I've never seen them. I have seen black bear only twice.
Yeah, I imagine you're way up there, aren't you?
Oh yeah, yep, yep. People always assume, especially in LA, they think I'm 3 hours ahead. No, I'm actually 4 hours ahead. I'm an extra hour here in Canada.
Where are you physically?
I'm in the Maritimes. I'm in Fredericton, New Brunswick.
Okay, so New Brunswick is like further east.
Yeah,
Maine,
we're
right.
Yeah, we're very handy. There's Nova Scotia is next door to us.
Oh, nice. I'll bet it's quite beautiful there.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's not a big province, but we got three major cities here, and I've lived here my whole life, and I've been here at this station since 2005, and but I never started podcasting like this till 2015. So I've had a lot of fun with this, but. Yeah, I often ask a lot of my guests if they know where I'm located because you never hear New Brunswick, Canada mentioned on television. You hear Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal. You never hear this place.
Well, I've heard of it, but I have not ever talked to anyone from there. So I'm very happy to be talking to you.
There you go. I often ask people, and I know this is kind of unrelated, but I often say, if you've heard of the Trailer Park Boys, I'd say they're our closest celebrities. And they've got 3 movies out, so.
Who?
The Trailer Park Boys.
Oh, really?
Yep. They're about our closest celebrities we had, so.
You're a bit of a movie buff.
I am. Very, very much so, yep.
I see probably 2 or 3 movies a week.
Oh, yeah? Anything interesting?
Well, the latest thing I think I've seen is The Shape of Water.
I've heard that was good. We haven't got that here yet.
That's very good.
Okay.
We saw The Post.
Yeah, we're getting that this Friday. That kind of puts me in mind of, from the advertisements, All the President's Men.
Yes.
Yeah.
It kind of does. And actually what it's really more about, I think, is how important to have a free press.
Yep. Did you see the disaster?
Which is rather timely for the United States right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got a guy that I won't mention by name talking about fake news.
Yes, we don't want to bring anyone down with that.
Nope. Yep.
There's certainly much better things to talk about.
Yep. Did you see The Disaster Artist?
Yes, I did.
Loved it. Tommy Wiseau was my first interview guest.
Tommy Weiss was?
Tommy Wiseau.
Oh, really? The real guy?
Yeah, The Room, yep.
No kidding. So you had to see that because...
I had to, yeah. Yep, I had to. And if James Franco don't get an Oscar nomination, I'll be shocked.
He won a Golden Globe for it.
I was so happy. That's all I wanted to hear was him winning that Golden Globe, and I would love to see him win the Oscar. What a huge thing that would be just for Tommy Wiseau himself.
It really would be, and he actually showed up at the Golden Globes with Franco.
Yeah, I heard that.
He accepted his award.
Well, I heard that Franco wouldn't let him talk. Like, I didn't see it because I was here, but... well... But no, I am a movie buff. I also like music as well. And now you got your 3rd album coming out, and I've already talked about Anonymous, which, again, I can't say enough. I love that song. And...
I'll tell you a little bit about the 3rd album. After doing the 1st album, and after taking 5 years to finish it, and then not quite knowing what to do with the album after I'd finished it, I did the 2nd album the right way.
All right.
I even had a woman named Meredith Valiando, who was a A&R person at Island Records. She A&R'd my album, so she basically put me together with a co-lyricist who acted like an editor for my lyrics, and made sure all the songs were, good for the album. And then we recorded it with, this was a different drummer and bass player. We had Matt Logg on drums and Lance Morrison on bass. And you probably know both of those names, or maybe not. Lance Morrison plays with quite a few of some very notable artists.
Okay.
So he's a great bass player. And then Tim Pierce played on the Horizon also. He played on both of my albums. And Phil Parlapiano played keys and background vocals.
So you had
we had Jamila Ford and Celia Chavez playing background vocals, or doing background vocals.
Well, once you get a good ensemble backing you up musically and vocally, things seem to come together perfectly in perfect harmony.
It really does. It really made a huge difference. It was like driving a Ferrari on a mountain road.
Yeah.
It felt really good. And then after that album was finished, I had a band in rehearsal, a live band in rehearsal weekly for 2 years, and we performed monthly at places like the Roxy and the Whiskey A Go-Go and Molly Malone's and the Mint. And then we did some festivals around the Earth Day period because of Earth is Crying.
Okay. So talk about Unconditional.
Well, after the 2 years of working the second album, really stopped rehearsing for a while so I could finish writing the third album. And over a period of maybe 8 to 10 months, I wrote 7 songs. We did basic tracks in August of 2016 for Unconditional, Anonymous, and a song called The Watcher, which we've not finished yet.
Okay.
So Unconditional then was released on 9/29/16. Anonymous was released on 9/7/2017. And I had started working with Bill Smith, who's an excellent engineer. And we recorded the basic tracks at LAFX Studio. Now, what makes the third album really different than the second album is that my acoustic guitar or my electric guitar was in it from the start, and everyone kind of played around my guitar.
Okay.
And that's what gave it a different feel than the last 2 albums.
That song, The Watcher, is there anything you want to tell us about that, or is it too
Well,
soon?
It's called The Watcher, and in parentheses, Antariaman.
Okay.
And Antariaman is a Sanskrit term to describe indweller.
All right.
So this is also an album where I'm getting more. I used to say that I would write about nature, and that the more people connected with nature, the more they would learn and understand the nature of humanity.
Okay.
So The Watcher is one of those songs about that. And so is Anonymous, of course, and that's what you picked up on.
Yep.
And Unconditional is also like that. It's a song about, love is power.
Yes, it is.
It's the ultimate power.
Yes, it is.
And can you imagine having that as an ultimate power? Would you ever hurt another person? You wouldn't.
No.
Because love doesn't allow you to do that. But it does give you a lens to see more deeply into people. When you have compassion, you get to see things that a person who's very hard and not in touch with themselves can't see. So it behooves a person to get to know themselves in a way that they commit themselves to kind of unraveling the illusory aspect of our world and really getting in touch with the truth about themselves.
Now, you talk about, you've been performing since a young age. So I guess You don't get the jitters going out on stage, huh?
Um, the first time I go up after a while, I'm anxious in a good way.
Yep.
I'm anxious to play. Yeah.
Do you have any favorite venues you like to play?
Well, I enjoyed playing the Whiskey. We played there probably 12 or 14 times.
Yeah.
It was always a good place to play. It was always a good crowd.
Now, in terms of places, like you've mentioned, in Europe and Australia, like have you played in those places, or are you just getting airplay?
No, we're planning. I'm hoping by summer we have a plan for playing, at least doing a tour on the UK or Europe, Western Europe.
You gonna come down to Canada here and come to New Brunswick?
Why not?
I think you should, so I could meet.
If there's a venue that we can play at, and there's some people that come out to hear us, I can't see why we wouldn't.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. But is there any place in particular that you have your heart set on to play at? Like, just what the one place you really want to play?
Well, I don't really have. I would love to play the Greek Theater in Los Angeles.
Okay.
That's about a 5,000 seat amphitheater.
Okay.
That's kind of like a benchmark that I would like to hit at some point. But the main thing is I really want to just play to people where I can experience them and they can experience me.
That's a good answer too.
I want to. I don't care where they are.
Yeah.
Because I find all people to be quite authentic and quite wonderful.
Yeah.
And so if I can just get people to come see me, and they can feel what I'm putting into my music, and they can feel it in their hearts, then that's going to be what I want most of all.
What do you think of this whole thing? Vinyl has made a comeback. Because I remember when I was young, my parents had 8-tracks, and then it was vinyl, and then cassettes, and then CDs. And vinyl seems to be making the comeback. And
actually, vinyl was before 8-tracks.
Yes, it was. It's true, yep.
And then after 8-tracks, it was cassettes. Or cassettes were happening around the same time that 8-tracks were. 8-tracks were, because of how fast they moved, and because they were wider magnetic tape, they sounded better than a lot of other things, but they got obsoleted.
I kind of like vinyl better anyway.
Well, I do too, and I'll certainly press vinyl for this last album that I'm doing.
Okay.
And it's not a last album; it's my most recent album that I'm working on.
Okay.
Vinyl seems to be hitting a note with millennials.
Yes.
And for them, it's something they've discovered. And I think they're going to bring it back around.
I think they should, yes.
Well, they're going to be quite the powerful generation. And actually, a lot of my music is meant to help them.
Yes, absolutely.
Help them sort through some things that they already have a sense that the world is different than what they see.
Absolutely.
And that's probably because the world's going to change in their direction as they get older.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we're already seeing that now.
Yeah, so if we can't help them, maybe I have a song that I've recently written that I have not recorded yet.
Okay. Called
Take a Step Back.
Okay.
And it's actually called World of Illusion.
Okay.
And it starts off as, talking about the dings from our phone and them taking us away from our hearts and our home.
Okay.
And when you have a device like that you're constantly taking your attention.
Yeah, I get that. Yep.
It can be taking you away from something that is more meaningful.
Yeah, especially these people that are texting and driving. That's got to stop.
Oh, that does have to stop, definitely.
Yes. But I get what you're saying, people sitting at the table texting and, when they should be communicating with the people that are in their company.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because when I was in high school, we still had typewriters. Everybody wasn't wandering around with a cell phone and whatnot. Boy.
It was pretty quiet at times, wasn't it?
Yeah, and look where we are now. It's just weird now how this has come up so fast.
Well, the pendulum always swings one way and then it starts swinging back the other. And yes, technology will become a constant companion, but I think people will learn from the overuse of it how to keep it in perspective.
I gotta say one thing though. I like devices like Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that where you can keep in touch with people that are not quite in your neck of the woods, like families that live apart,
Right.
Stuff like that is really nice. Like when I was in Toronto, for example, I never felt like I was really away because if I had a moment where to myself, I could go on Facebook and, hey, how you doing or whatever. It never felt like I was really away.
Yeah, I know. That is nice. And I don't mind Facebook. I mean,
No.
I'm certainly have my own Facebook official page, and
Mm-hmm.
I have a private page, and I have a Twitter account and all that.
Yep.
Those are things you have to have as an artist.
Yep.
Would this be a good time to give my social information out?
Go right ahead.
Okay.
The podium's yours.
Well, my Facebook page that is the official page is official TJ Doyle Music. So it's facebook.com/official TJ Doyle Music.
Okay.
Now, I'm pretty good at, I actually almost let everybody who requests a friend request on my personal Facebook page, so I don't mind giving that out.
Sure.
TJ Doyle Music 1.
Yeah, I appreciate you accepting my friend's request as well.
Well, I'm glad that I was able to communicate with you. And were you able to listen to some of that album?
I was able to listen to some. I haven't got to it all because I've had a little bit on my plate lately.
Well, I
but
understand.
I definitely I know with Anonymous, I checked that out before I even sent a message to you on Facebook. So I definitely was jamming that song. So I was.
And my Twitter account is at TJ Doyle Music.
I'm going to have to follow you on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter a whole lot, but I'll have to do that, yeah.
Yeah, please do, and I'll follow you back.
Sure, absolutely.
But it's at TJ Doyle Music. I use TJ Doyle Music for everything.
Okay.
So my website is tjdoylemusic.com.
Okay.
If you put in TJ Doyle Music as a search, you'll find everything related to me.
Absolutely, yes. And so, is there anything else that you like? Anything like any charities, any causes, or anything projects coming up in the future? I know you say you're going to try to tour this summer. Anything like that you want to bring up?
Not that I can think of at the moment.
Okay. Well, you know what, TJ, I want to thank you very, very much for coming on here. And, of course, I want to acknowledge Mike Gormley for hooking us up. He always sends me some interesting people. And like I said, I've listened to your work. I think you've got a lot to offer people. And like I said, I hope that things turn out really well for you in the future. It's nice to get somebody comes on stage that you get people that sing, and I'm not putting them down, but it's always nice to see somebody can also play an instrument. And like I said, you're very good and skilled on the guitar.
Well, thank you. I really enjoy. I love music, and I have to say that artists throughout history have always tried to point toward something greater than the people at the time could comprehend. And I think that is probably the motivation with me, trying to get people to understand more about themselves. And if they can understand truly more about themselves in the genre of anonymous and how you understand it,
Yep.
then I hope I can make a difference.
I never asked this question. I should ask this. Who is your influences in terms of, like, who inspires you musically?
You know, that's always been a tough question for me.
Yeah?
I don't have a good answer. I mean, I like Tracy Chapman.
Yep.
I mean, I like a lot of artists,
Okay.
but I can't say that I was influenced by them.
Okay.
I've been kind of more influenced by nature and by the nature of humanity. And then as a writer, I have my own style of writing, and that kind of works for me.
Okay.
So I didn't really analyze somebody else's musical style to create mine.
Okay. Well, you know what? That's nature is a great thing to be inspired by. So I'll give you.
Well, it's all encompassing, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so's the nature of humanity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Between those two things, that's all there is for us in the three-dimensional world we live in.
Absolutely. Well, before I let you go, I was wondering if I could get you to do a plug for my show.
Absolutely. I want to thank Greg Gilbert, Python's Paradise out of New Brunswick, Canada.
Absolutely. It was great to have you on, TJ Doyle, and I wish you the very, very best in the future and getting your message out about the beauty of nature and the beauty of humanity. I know right now in our society, we need that.
Well, I think it needs to come from many places, and I hope I can be great at one of them.
Well, I thank you for championing that message.
Yeah, well, listen, it's been a real pleasure talking to you, Greg, and I look forward to staying in touch